Scaling is super critical for the back extension, and this thing has the potential to be magic. And so I've had folks that have hopped into this and can barely get settled without pain, and people going all the way up to the very end of that. The cool thing about this tool is the tool stays the same, the ranges of motion stay the same, and all you do is progress through the lineage. You never have to adapt or do different things or do a harder stimulus. It's all baked in here for you. So if I was going to start this in an incredibly compromised state, I would get this thing up pretty high. So I'm blocking my hips. And my first order of business is just holding with some tension across my back. And that might be that I'm actually using some hand assistance. So I'd probably get my hands out there first, place my hips, and then go, all right, I am now producing some level of tension on my low back. What happens if I lift one hand? A little unbalanced, so I have to compensate. It feels okay. What about two hands? Well, too much. I can place those hands back. In general, you want to be able to hang out for like a good minute. This should be a piece of cake with my hips blocked for most people, okay? From there, I'm gonna get less hand tension. So I get to a place where I can hold maybe 20, 30 seconds. I build this up to a minute. From there, I'm going to lower this down to increase the lever so that it is now lower across my hip. I'm longer and heavier up top. I may have to put those hands back in. That's totally fine. From there, I start to work through that same thing. Okay, now I can hang out. From there, I can do assisted ranges of motion down. And I can push myself back up. I literally deloaded my back to use my arms to push myself back up. Getting those negatives is the first step to getting some range of motion. Once I get negatives, and I can do that hands-free, then maybe I get some partials going back up. From there, I can get rid of my little safety net there, and I can start working through partials unassisted. So I can maybe get to here and come back up, and slowly over time, as things open up and loosen up, I get all the way down. So all the way down and all the way up is sort of your ordinary baseline, if you will. And many people can start there. If you don't have active back pain, you have decent range of motion, you can kind of fold and bend and do your ordinary things without pain, chances are you could start right there. But if you've got active back pain, if you've recently had some sort of intervention, then starting at those very mellow variations are going to be a good idea. From there, my buy-in is essentially 20 reps. All the way down, come back up, good squeeze. I want to get 20 reps of this before I move on to the next thing. The next thing would be releasing a leg. My buy-in from here becomes 20 reps on single leg as well. Now doing 20 reps in a row on one leg is going to be very fatiguing on the low back, very fatiguing on that one side. So the approach in your working sets, in order to make sure it's balanced and works for you, is to go one leg at a time and go 5 reps. So we'll call that 4 and 5, switch to the other side. I did my 5, that's 4 and 5, and from there I can make sure I'm totally balanced between sides. In general, you're shooting for, you guessed it, 20 each side. That is a pretty Herculean task in terms of making sure I have the low back, the hamstring integrity, and so forth to get through all those reps. But maybe your first set is just 5 and 5 each side. It's just too much to handle. And so I can put both feet in and continue with another maybe 5 reps with 2 feet. So you have some flexibility to put together some combinations in order to meet where you're at. What happens when you get to the next level? Well, I can start adding some outside load. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. Buy-in with 2 legs. Now, if you've made it this far, chances are buy-in with 2 legs for some amount of weight, in this case 15 pounds, is going to be very reasonable. So you put your buy-in, and you might go, well, I'm going to go heavier still and heavier still until you get to, let's say, a 45-pound plate. Depending on what your goals are, this can get into the weeds in a variety of different ways. Are you just training for general low back health? Are you training for sports? But I'll give you one more layer to think about, and that is, you guessed it, a single leg weighted back extension. So essentially I am dominating this with one leg, my low back is up to the task, and I'm adding outside load. And that would be your complete progression from fragility at the beginning, total assistance, total hip bracing, just holds, all the way up to the end, single leg, heavy weights, high volume.